All right. Welcome to My Brother's Keeper. I'm your host, Treaveon Roberts, and I'm joined today by my brother and co-host, Nolin Torrado. Now, let's be real. Politics nowadays feels like war. Every post is a battlefield, every debate, a fight to the death, and somewhere in that chaos, a lot of men, especially young Black, brown, Latino, and other men of color have checked out. They say something like politics doesn't speak to me, it's just noise, it's all rigged anyway. But what if we told you that political engagement isn't just voting or debating. It's claiming spaces, building power and showing up for your people. What if politics wasn't about battle, but about brotherhood? Today's episode is about reframing what civic life could look like and why disinformation, detachment, and division are keeping too many of us on the sidelines. Because here's the truth, if we don't define our role in democracy, someone else will. Often the loudest voices in male spaces on YouTube, TikTok, and group chats are not leading us towards freedom. They're feeding us lies, fear, and false power. So today we're joined by someone who has made it his mission to fight disinformation, to elevate truth, and to bring clarity to our politics in a time when it's needed the most.
Our guest today is a journalist, political analyst, and a truth teller whose work cuts through the noise. Ahmed Baba is a co-founder of Rant Media and the writer of ahmedbaba.news, a top-ranked Substack newsletter that breaks down politics, disinformation, and democracy with sharp insight and clarity. His work has been featured on The Independent, The New York Times, CNN, and the MSNBC, and more. He's one of the leading voices in explaining how disinformation spreads and what we can do to stop it. Ahmed believes that political literacy is power, and that if we want to change the world, we have to first understand it. Ahmed, thank you for joining us. Let's dive in.
No,
So,
thanks
firstly,
for having me. Appreciate you
yeah,
guys doing this and organizing it.
yeah, for sure. And so, firstly, Ahmed, as someone who's studied and exposed the ways disinformation distorts democracy, how do you personally stay grounded in the truth, and how can we, especially as young men, build a filter that's build a filter towards what's real in a world built on noise?
I mean, honestly, it's a lot less about just like practical tactics of anti-disinformation work and media literacy. I mean, those are all core tenets. But one of the things I think is at the core of all of this and why young men get pulled in generally, which I'm sure we'll get to in a bit, is just maintaining my peace. Is like the number one most important part of staying grounded in truth. Basically, any practice to make sure that you're not in a volatile emotional state. Because, being young is hard. Being a young man is hard, a lot harder than it's given credit, given, obviously men have ran the world for all of human history. But the pressure that young men face to, we're still told we have to be providers. We're still told we need to do X and Y by certain times. If you're not getting girls in high school, you're feeling like you're behind, even though, it's like, you go at your own pace. If you're constantly feeling you're in competition, or you got to be buff, you got to be wealthy, you got to be this, and you're being pushed with all of these pressures, and then that creates a volatility and an emotional state and a feeling of inadequacy that is then filled by bullshit. I don't know if we can cuss on this podcast, but I feel like you're getting fed nonsense that tries to fill the voids you have internally. And because a lot of men, unfortunately, don't go to therapy, they don't prioritize their mental health, they're then able to be taken advantage of and preyed upon, which is what we see happening on the right. So the way I stay grounded in truth, because there's still disinformation, there's on everywhere, right? And sometimes there's still moments where you could fall victim to it yourself by falling for emotional narratives. I maintain my peace and I try to take care of my mental health, number one. And that kind of is my guard to be able to look through the world with a discerning eye. So that's like unconventional. Most people expect me to just list off like media literacy tactics, but it's really about just composing yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing wrong with turning on Do Not Disturb once in a while.
Yeah.
Completely. It starts like you hit a point there. It starts in here. Like I know that's so cliche, but
Yeah.
it starts with being able to go within and just be like, I'm okay with who I am, and I'm just gonna navigate through the world. It's like, being water and oil. Being just able to push everything off of you. Type of thing.
Yes, exactly.
I completely agree with that. I kind of wanted to follow up and ask, a lot of men feel completely disconnected from politics, not because they don't care, but because they've been told they don't belong in that space unless they're already powerful, which is something you kind of hit on. How do we start reframing politics not as something corrupt or elite, but as something rooted in purpose, power, and even brotherhood?
A lot of it starts with, I mean, because when I was in high school, Obama had just won, and I was able to see a direct, line. Like there was a guy in office that you could see could be a role model, right? You could see that was someone who was worthy of praise, someone who you thought you could emulate, someone you could try to be like, because his life was something that was admirable, right? I think having more, like you're gonna get in this later, mentors, having more role models in politics, I think it starts from top down as well. We need more male role models in politics that are actually good people and not appeasing to the worst whims. And internally, men need to realize that politics is about power. Politics is about making a change. And if you feel lack of agency in your own life, you can go into politics to try to impact the lives of others and in turn yourself. And again, I really think it's about, because again, a lot of what men want in the beginning of their lives, I know for me, you're trying to figure out who you are. You're trying to figure out what career you want to have. Society is telling you, especially our materialist society, maybe less so now, but especially mid 2010s, that you got to get money. You got to get money. Our music, a lot of us like hip hop, like you got to get money. You got to get, you got to get, you got to acquire. And that's the thing. That's the thing for young men. And if and you're not really thinking about like engaging in a volunteer work in politics a lot of the time. But again, what people need to understand, it's not about going and getting and acquiring. It's about deciding who you are first and foremost, what you truly want, and then acting in alignment with that. That is why people who are in politics, like you two and other young men, are self-assured. They know who they are. They know who they want to be. That's the first step. So I wouldn't even. I always, again, I go to the internal, because that's why a lot of young men are gravitate towards self-help stuff, and why Trump can appear appealing to them, because he tells them he can make them rich, right? But the way I see it is that young men need to focus on who they want to be and the character they want to build first. And then suddenly everyone I know who's done that realizes politics is important in their lives, because once you build that character, you recognize that you have to have empathy for other people. You recognize that the government has deep impacts on your lives and your loved ones and your future. And if you want self-determination, you have to be involved in politics. I know it's a long-winded answer, but it's like, I just see it being multifaceted.
You definitely, like, you answered the next question I was going to ask you, because it was going to be in the realm of, how do we make civic engagement feel like it's just not about having all the answers, it's about getting to something bigger than you. But you answered it. You said that it's about first being reassured with yourself before you give to, other people. It's about having that self reassurance and whatnot. And I totally agree. I mean, definitely. No, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I would like to add on to that. So, because we live in a very consumer society, um, our societal structure almost puts extra value on, acquiring money over being a good person, as you said, Ahmed. And not only do we have to like look introspectively, uh, and kind of decide, am I about like making money, or am I about being a good person? Because not those are mutually exclusive things, but like you know, you almost have to decide like what you want to be about primarily.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I just gotta jump in on that too, because it's just like, you're right. It's not mutually exclusive, because what you people need to realize, you can clout chase and you can sell your soul and you can decide to go down the right wing rabbit hole. You can decide to lie to people, make a quick buck, but you will be internally miserable. And you will not fill the void. The void will catch up to you eventually.
Mhm.
The real key, if you want to be successful and act within alignment of your purpose, it's becoming a good person. It's moving in alignment with your values. It's creating your character, making character affirming decisions, being that person. I'm grateful that my life when I was 19, I had some stuff happen to me, and it made me change my path and like decide that, well, I'll just tell you, I when I was 18, I got into a car accident after a party I shouldn't have been at. I was drinking and I was going down the wrong path, and I had this adversity happen to me that kind of forced me into like, what are you doing with your life? And it made me have to figure out, who am I really? And then from there, that's why at a young age, I was able to first decide, who am I really? Am I someone that is just not going to have a purpose and just go down the wrong path? Or am I going to be someone that wants that is going to be a good person and that wants to improve themselves? That's where all of it started. I didn't start down the path of politics. It started in deciding, how do I improve myself and pick myself up out of this hole I'm in? And then it led to me quitting drinking at like 22. It led to me doing all this other stuff. I still party though. I still get down. Should have been my wedding. I don't know. Charles was there. Charles Larcy. Wedding was popping. I still party, but without the alcohol. But the point is, you figure out who you are first and foremost before anything. People try to get the means before the ends before the means. They say, oh, I want to just go get this money. I want to go do this. No. Become addicted to self-progression and become addicted to being a good person and improving yourself, and then everything else will come. It will come. And that's kind of the message to young people. Like, just, focus on your character. It's not fulfilling to be out here and bully people. Like all these right-wing heroes, they always fall. Every single one. I can't think of one person that hasn't fallen off. I guess Donald Trump is president right now, but he won't be anymore, and he faced indictments. Not all of you are born billionaires that can survive this stuff. So my point is, be a good person first and foremost, and then move with character in the world, and you'll be surprised at what you attract.
I definitely
absolutely.
Sentiment. Yeah, like you made me think about when I was a young man. I was talking to my girlfriend about this the other day.
When you were a young man, you were a young man right now.
What
are you talking about? You're in college, bro.
When I was younger, I remember how back in like 5th grade, how everybody getting a girlfriend was so cool. So I was like, what's wrong with me? So I would go on YouTube and watch videos about like how to talk to a girl and how to tell if a girl likes you. And it made me, now I look back and see how those videos make me objectify, women, make it seem like they were this puzzle to solve and I had to find the pieces and whatnot. And I was just so jaded as a young man because approaching a woman, I would talk to her as if like I have to get her. She's the mission, the customer. Instead of, this is just a person. I'm gonna talk to her the same way I talk to my bro. Like it's like and getting my girlfriend now, looking back then, I was just like, if I hadn't, because I've been with my girlfriend since I was 15, and we've been together for like 6 years. So if I hadn't been with her, I don't know who I would be. Like, and that like it's the same as you. Like she's just sitting on a different path. How I see women and whatnot.
No, exactly. Well, I mean, you're lucky, right? You ended up you probably learned early. You started that journey in 5th grade, right? Watching those videos, but could you imagine if kids in 5th grade now, if they did that search in YouTube, what would they see? The videos are way worse. They would get Andrew Tate. They would get, they would get nonsense. They would get stuff that's designed to feed them down this right-wing rabbit hole, to objectify women, to see them, like you said, as a puzzle to solve, or as like a thing to get or crack or own or acquire, right? That's what male call. I mean, I played football in high school, and like the phrase locker room talk, that shit's real. All right. Like we're like, it becomes a competition. How many women can you get? How many? And it's like, people don't outwardly acknowledge that enough or try to challenge it as being toxic and leading you down the wrong path. Again, if you're a young man listening to this and you do actually want to get a wife and the woman of your dreams, and you do want to go make money and have a good career and be a good dad and be a good parent in the future, don't be a dick. Number one. Number two, you're going to be surprised at how much more you get in your life by being a good person. If you actually, I'll tell you right now, Andrew Tate is not someone you want to emulate. Don't emulate sex traffickers. It's rule number two. But that should be rule number one, actually. But it's like, come on, man. Like, I'm glad you already, you see it, both of you, that it's like you can't let yourself go down these rabbit holes because you're in an emotional state or you're feeling lack. And anytime any culture or person tries to sell you inadequacy and tries to say, oh, you're lacking in this, so let me fill it for you, don't trust them. Mm-hmm. That's what a lot of disinformation does, period. So, like, yeah.
Yeah, got to put down that Andrew Tate and pick up some bell hooks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
Oh, Lord.
No, I mean, that's just real talk, like, it's just, you can't let these people prey on you, There's the whole industry designed around preying on young men. And people don't talk about it that way, but that's what it is. If you're young and you're scared, you're trying to figure out who you are when the entire society is trying to pressure you to become some mega provider that gets 1,000 women a year, like that's what culture feels like to young men, and it's like, and again, and let's say you're not even straight either, right? It's like you're getting pressured. So it's like you're getting pressured to go down this wrong path. And then, if you're a member of the LGBTQ plus community, then you're also getting pressured from other sides. Like there's like straight man, get money, get this, push down every person's throat, and it creates lost boys. And luckily, we're seeing a little bit of reversal on some of the right wing ideology, kind of alignment, because Trump's tariffs are hitting some people's stock portfolios, some of the men that followed his path. So some people are waking up from some of this, but the more you guys are out here just talking to young men as young men, the more hopefully people will realize that it's just a bunch of nonsense. And I don't know if I violated rules by cussing and being too real, but I'm just speaking off the cuff. And just
we want the
realness.
Yeah. Yeah, we want the realness. And to go off of that, it definitely says a lot about American men that it takes, their stock portfolios being hurt to actually like wake up and be like, wait, maybe this isn't such a great idea. Maybe I shouldn't have voted for this guy,
Yeah.
But once again, as we said, that's an example of selfishness, right? Not being cognizant of the bad behavior of Donald Trump, which we voted as leader. So, oh Lord.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, I want to ask, like, I got a little bit, of both. Like, are there any other things that like made you like, what was your turning point of like deciding I'm gonna go and not be toxic? Because it's a choice. It's a choice. It's like the default is like you're gonna become toxic. Like that's pretty much what the default is. You kind of have to opt out of toxic masculinity because of the way society presents it to us. So like, how do you?
You're so right. Like I feel like most male relationships are built off of toxic masculinity, like middle school. Like that was definitely towards the end of middle school the turning point for me. I feel like for a lot of like men, they are on the left leaning diaspora. It's like you kind of, for me, it was really much social media. Like social media is really what educated me about life outside of being a straight man, especially like early, like the LGBTQ community. My sister, being gay, that really like shaped my perception because I seen what she went through. Like she's a couple years behind me, and seeing her get bullied and stuff like that, I was just like, what? The same thing I was joking about as a young man, seeing that happen to my sister. Oh,
Yeah, I see.
it was ridiculous and whatnot. And it's just growing up and maturing and realizing it's not funny. It's nothing about it's funny because, like, especially as a black man, I feel like I meant most of the better jokes when it comes to like race jokes and whatnot. So it's just like being in that, I don't know, just being in that way in life, it just really opened my eyes to like these are human beings, bro.
you were put in a position
Mhm.
that you had to empathize, and some people don't have the maturity at that age to really do it. But that's major props to you, man. What about you? What about you? It's not Nolan, it's Nolin.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure.
My name is Spanish, so like it's Noli, but
Okay, no,
some
I
English
just want to make
speakers
sure
say
I
Nolan.
I just want to make sure I got it right, because
Yeah,
I get
yeah,
Ahmed, I get crazy stuff with my name too, so I
yeah.
gotta like always ask.
No, I'm not offended if you call me Nolan either. I just accepted it as English speaking country, but but yeah, for me personally, um, my own family, thankfully, they raised me very, very Pentecostal.
Nice.
And so from a very young age, my family instilled in me values that were like, hey man, if you don't respect women, something's wrong.
That's
And
good.
so yeah. And but definitely an eye-opening experience that kind of like solidified and internalized that teaching for me was probably going to, ironically, a Christian private school when I was
Mm,
15. Because a lot of my peers would just say crazy stuff, particularly the white ones. And oftentimes they would go unchecked. And in my mind, I was like, man, is this what the average man sounds like? Do I really want to be like, do I want to sound like this? Especially towards women. And so it wasn't, for me personally, it wasn't like some grand overarching like event that changed things for me, but like more like a gradual instillment of and gradual constant reminders of, hey, don't be like this, be cool, respect women.
that's great. That's great,
because
man.
yeah, because at the end of the day, that's just like the bare minimum.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. And yeah. I mean, similar, like, I grew up with two sisters and my mom, and my mom was like my mom was kind of the matriarch of the house. So like I kind of grew up in a more, female dominated house. But even then, I still had my stumbles. You growing up around bros, you're broing around, you're making stupid jokes, you're in middle school, high school, playing football, it's all just a bunch of, dudes trying to posture. And it's like you run into it. And it's really just about, real masculinity is just about being discerning and kind and wise and calm. And that's really what it's about. And all these people pumping their chests. It's funny, a lot of these, I'll run into some of these people that like preach it. And it's funny, like I don't want to get on there like that shit, but it's like if you really want to measure it on masculinity, like see me in the gym. Right? Like, how much can you actually bench? You really want to do this? You know? It's like you really want to go that route. Like I'll get in these debates with these like right wing men trying to debate masculinity. I'm like, dude, you can't even probably bench like what 150, and you want to compete on baseline masculinity level. You know what I'm saying? So my point is, most of these people are all talk. They don't actually live that life anyway. So it's like if you want to go there, we can go there, and you don't even live that life. And number two, it's like it's just fake because they're trying to posture for their own inadequacies and vulnerabilities. They feel lack, and they need to punch people, and they need to push people down, and they need to back these bullies like Donald to make them feel strong.
Definitely.
No, the voice of commentocracy when I see a right winger in real life is just so loud.
I mean, we're just going to be real about it. If we want to play that game, it's just that's why I just find it funny because it's like it's like they want to preach like primal masculinity, and they don't really live that life. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, a lot of these red pillars don't even go to the gym hardly,
Well, yeah,
or
yeah,
they just take steroids, you know?
yeah. I mean, you have Andrew Tate, who I guess is a boxer or whatever, but like, you see some of like Charlie Kirk is out here talking about masculinity. Charlie, bro,
Brother, don't
like,
even.
where, like, what are you doing? You want to talk about
Masculinity,
You want to talk about
masculinity is not
masculinity?
like me.
Go to
What if
Turkey and
you
get
mean?
the hair transplant, man. Like, what are you talking about? Masculinity and like, I mean, I'm bald, literally making a joke about someone who's balding. But the point is, it's like, I'm not trying to be petty and get on that lower scale, but it's just like, it's just funny. It's just like, you feel so many contradictions. You want to talk about this masculinity stuff. You want to get on the basic, you want to act like you're this bro, but then you're not really that either. So it's like you actually more form fitting within the broader, more accepting, tolerant masculinity that the liberals pitch. You don't belong to that other masculinity. You're not out here like, you know what I'm saying? And it's all really foolish and it's posturing, and you can see right through it. And it's just, with you guys out here explaining it to young men, hopefully more people see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is why we gotta start bringing mirrors to Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro into Congress. I feel like that would be the strategy, you know. And they can see themselves speaking and be like, "Man, I gotta lift some weights."
I'm saying.
You know,
I mean,
maybe.
again, it's just dumb to just like, get on the weightlift stuff, but it's just like, I just, it's like I'm on these panels sometimes, like I'm on CNN or MSNBC, and I sometimes just want to be like, you want to go, you want to do it, you want to go max, you want to go max out, like you want to go, you want to sit here and defend Trump's masculinity, like, can Donald lift 300? What can Donald lift? What is Donald putting up in the gym? It's just like, I can't have the hypocrisy. It's just the calling out that hypocrisy. It's like, you really live, either you live that life or you don't live that life. How about you just become a more accepting person, accept multiple versions of masculinity, accept a tolerant world where men can be kind to their wives. They don't have to be dominant. There's this new trad wife traditional household stuff that's re-rising. You see it on TikTok with Gen Z, a lot of weird stuff happening. And it's just like, enough.
There needs to be acceptance that masculinity is a spectrum. Like like there's no one set version of masculinity. Every man, every woman, every person, their version of masculinity is so different. Like to relate to you, I grew up in a house. I grew up in a family mainly women. I didn't grow up with a father in the house, so I kind of grew up with the woman's idea of what a man should be, and that kind of really ruled my world until I actually grew into it and whatnot. And so it was just very interesting growing up with that version and then becoming not their version of what a man should be and stuff like that. And it's just like,
Yeah,
I don't know, going all over the place. It's a spectrum of things.
it really is. There's no one way, but all I know is that being a prick and being mean and being terrible is not the way. That's that's the stuff of tyrants. That's what insecure man children become. And that's who's currently leading the country, in my opinion. And I think you can't have that. You can't bring your insecurity along with you into leadership positions, into your jobs, into all of this stuff. If you want to succeed in society, build character first, and don't go chasing these false senses of masculinity.
For sure.
And ironically, at the same time, it's the same people that are, trying to put up the Ten Commandments in Texas and whatnot. I'm like, man, just please read the Bible. Was Jesus all about this?
No, yeah, it's just like there's just no consistency. It's just power and posturing, and just calling that out forcefully. That's why I think Gavin Newsom is appealing to a lot of people. And he may not appeal to everybody, but like sometimes he might appeal to people, anyone who forcefully makes their position. I'm talking about like the men in Democratic Party, Wes Moore, JB Pritzker, these men that are like being forceful and combating Donald Trump. I think people want someone who is going to push back and call out these hypocrisies and really speak to the inconsistencies and the actual real weakness of being like a bully in that false masculinity. Like that's really what it is. It's a weakness. It's not strength at all. So
I definitely agree. I read a book a couple of weeks ago. It was by a man. I don't know if you know who Roland Martin is.
I know Roland Martin.
Yeah, it was called White Fear, and it was a book that kind of highlighted how Trump he came at a time where it was perfect for him, for a person like him to kind of take his type of initiative for America after having Obama serve for 8 years and show America that we're taking a change. Like it's whether you like it or not. How he tackled gay marriage and everything. It scared men.
Yeah.
Men to far right men as well. And when Trump came in, as unapologetic as he was, he kind of stroked their fear and kind of showed that we lost this, but we can get it back, you know, to make America great again and whatnot. And I mean, it was just the right place, right time. And like, I hated to read that, I hate to hear it, but it really opened my eyes. You know, that fear is really what powers, you know, our country. And if we do have a president, a woman, or another president of color, it might just repeat history again, you know? So it's scary to really think that a lot of, I don't know, men and just Americans in general let fear kind of be a coattail. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of post-Confederacy, post-failed Reconstruction era fear that Trump tapped into, you know, the racial animus, but also like just how anyone who's feeling inadequate, like if you live in middle America, and you didn't really do that well, or you know, you're feeling, you know, you're not feeling, you know, your jobs were shipped away overseas. He tapped into all these people's grievances, you know. Some of them justified, some aren't, not like racial grievances aren't, but he really just tapped into people's fear and anger, which is a lot easier to do than people's hope, and trying to get them to appeal to their better angels. And that's what also needs to happen to among young men. So totally agree.
100%. I know, like, some people say that there's a myth that like apolitical is neutral, like, you know, to kind of not want to be involved in it. But I don't think it is. Like, do you think it's like a position of privilege or avoidance?
I think it's a position of a little bit of both. You know, I think there's some people who aren't privileged, who are in poverty, who don't really have, you know, they're so focused on their next paycheck that they can't really think about politics. And then there's other people who are so privileged that they are able to avoid what's going on day to day to other people. But I really just think it's about, you know, obviously our education system needs reform, but it's about reminding people the day to day presence of government in our day to day lives, to remind you to not be, you know, apolitical. Like every road you drive on, that's government, that's politics. Every time you drink water from your faucet, that's government. That is, you know, if you live in New York, you have cleaner water than if you live in other places. Uh, if you, you know, it's everything you're doing is government. The regulations that allow your AC units to work in your house, that's government. The regulations that allow, you know, that prevent certain companies from ripping you off, that's government. All of it. It's just all of the car regulations in order to make the safety standards, make sure you're not crashing. It's got like everything. I walk on my door right now, uh, and I can just think of anything. Like if I go to Walgreens and I see prescription drugs there, I have FDA approved, making sure that that was safe. That is government, and that is being eroded right now by Trump, by with their HHS secretary. That's, you don't know what kind of future safety standards will happen on this. You know, you don't know exactly what the government can become if you let it get into the wrong hands, and then how that will downstream impact your day-to-day lives. And I think that's what really needs to be pushed, is just the most mundane things in your day-to-day life are directly impacted by politics. Broadband access, if you're, you know, if you're in the country, probably don't have as good access. Biden passed an infrastructure bill to try to get that handled, but there's all these processes that you know, it made it slower to be delivered. But again, government, it's a government process. If you let someone into power to change that, your life can improve. And it's just, that's really some of the things I think need to be focused on. Not just empathy for other people, but like kind of telling people like, look, your tax structure, everything, your opportunities, your healthcare, government. So that would just be the message.
And to add on to that, I think the attitude of neutrality or abstinence from politics is kind of almost stemmed in like white privilege or like male privilege, right? Because if you're a white dude that's middle class in America, it's easy for you to coast politically. Like you don't you're not obligated to get involved politically because the current system kind of like values, or not values, but enables you to just like not have to like stick up for yourself the way that people of color and women have to in order to survive and not have their rights taken away from them.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I totally agree. I think there's certain classes of different privileges that enable you to not have to focus on day-to-day dynamics and the impact of politics on your lives for sure.
100%. I just want to ask you like one last question that I feel like is just a good question to end off on. I wanted to ask, how do we challenge the idea that men shouldn't care about politics, or that politics isn't masculine, strategic, visionary without coming at the expense of marginalized groups?
I mean, I think that first off, like I said, politics, impacting your day-to-day lives. If you also have a family, it impacts your family, it impacts you personally, but also politics gives you the opportunity to maybe express your purpose. If you want to be involved and you want to make an impact on the world, which a lot of men do, that's kind of the core thing. A lot of men feel unimportant, or they feel like they're not influencing the course of events. So they try to run to these fake influencers that tell them, just seeking money through grifting or crypto or accumulation of things is going to satiate them. It never will. But if you want to actually have a purpose, consider following along with your day-to-day events, because I know that there's, Abraham Lincoln, when he was really young, he suffered from depression, and he would talk about how, like, basically he would get to this point where he'd want to die, right? Because he was so melancholic, and he would say either I get better and basically change, impact the course of human events, or I die, basically, in like some notes that he'd written because he was so despondent, depressed, and didn't know who he was. Believe it or not, Abraham Lincoln basically, if he was on YouTube, maybe Andrew Tate would have told him to just, maybe go and do some toxic stuff instead of running for president, but because he was that depressed. But it's like, think about basically so many of these greats, that man went on to be the best president of all time in American history. And it's like, he chose to decide to find fulfillment and purpose in trying to shape the course of human events for the better. So if you're a person that doesn't think politics is useful or worth your time, but you care about making an impact in other parts of your life, what better way to like be masculine and to help shape the course of human events?
That was perfect. Like, to relate that to Abraham Lincoln, like you said, he was one of the best. He is one of the best presidents, that in American history. And to see that a man of his stature in our history suffered a time where he was unsure about who he was, that's just a pivotal point. You can either go one or two ways in life at that point, when you're not sure who you are. And I feel like that just gives more men, younger men, especially very younger men, security that you don't have to figure it out now. I don't have to figure it out now, obviously, I'm 21. But if you keep on a good path, you will eventually succeed, and find your masculinity and be able to assert it. And with that being said, I would like to turn this, on the audience and give them two takeaways, as listeners, and to know that politics is not a fight. It's not a fight you watch. It's a space you shape. I feel like you hit on that a lot like a lot, and it's very powerful to take that away. You don't need a title or a platform to show up. Your community is your arena, 100%. And one more thing is to check your sources, check your circle. Who are you letting shape your worldview? Are they informing you or manipulating you? Because as we heard, it's very easy as a young man at any point in life when you're unsure to easily be manipulated.
Yeah. Well said. Well said.
No.
Yeah. And so just to close out, I would just like to say that too many of us are taught that, strength means silence, disinterest, or selfishness. But civic engagement is one of the most powerful ways to lead with love for your people, your future, and yourself. And so this week, guys, follow a local organizer or policy page, whether it's your city council, grassroots campaign, or a trusted political journalist such as Ahmed here, and make that a part of your feed, right? Balance the noise with the truth. Huge thank you, Ahmed, for lending your voice, your clarity, and your own experience to this episode. We cannot thank you enough. And
Thanks for having me.
next, yeah. It's our pleasure, man. And next time on My Brother's Keeper, we'll be talking about how masculinity shows up in relationships, not just romantically, but in how we love, build, and care for our communities. So until then, stay grounded, stay learning, and stay ready. Further together.
Good together.